Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to episode number 30 of the Houston Astros franchise here on MLB The Show 20. Today we have the July recap for the Astros series, see what happened in the month of July. I know the month of July isn't over yet, but since it is the trade deadline, I thought this was a good spot to go ahead and do this episode. So make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below before you continue. Support the channel and support the Astros series and show me that you guys love the series. So now that that's out of the way, one more thing I do want to address. This will be the last video I post for about a week. I am going out of town for the next week, going on vacation, just enjoying some time with my family. And I will not have any videos next week. Videos will resume the following Monday, so next Monday. So just, if you don't see me posting, that's why. And I appreciate you guys understanding. So let's jump right into it. Starting off with the month of July, here's how we did in the month of July. We went a total of 14-10, which is actually the same record we went in the month of June. So if we beat the Twins in the next episode, we could do better than we did in June. But sitting at 14-10, 56-52 on the year. Obviously, we plan for the Astros to be a little better this season. Let's take a look at the standings now. AL East is up by the Yankees 73-35. Red Sox close behind by 3.5 games. The Central more of a wide open race. White Sox lead the division 58-51. Twins a game and a half back, and then the Royals are 3 games back. AL West is the Athletics dominating the division. They're 68-41, up by us and the Angels now by 11.5 games. And the wild card is the Red Sox and the Rays in the AL East, followed by the Angels, Twins, and Astros, who are all 5 games back. In the NL East, Nationals lead the way 65-45, Mets 5 games back. Central is led by the Brewers 62-46, and then the West it is the Dodgers. It's absolutely dominating baseball, 77-33. Got a 13.5 game lead over the Diamondbacks, which shows how dominant they are because the Diamondbacks are the top wild card team, followed by the Mets, with the Cardinals a game and a half out. So some tough division races, some far division races. Let's go into the meat of the episode and look at player stats now. See how our team is doing. Position players will look at OPS. Oops, I hit the wrong stat type. Let's see, sort by OPS. Okay. So our highest OPS hitter now is George Springer. He's at 910 OPS, hitting 278 on the season, 24 homers, 7 ribbies. He has been our go-to guy this season. Love having George Springer. Unfortunately, he is a free agent, so he is going to demand the big bucks. He is making $21 million right now. Says his expectation is $10 million, but I expect that to go up, especially with the marketplace. Maybe we can sign him to an extension. Next up, Alex Bregman. Alex solo shot Bregman, hit 264, 25 homers, but only 58 RBIs. That just shows how many solo shots he hit. His average has been a little lower than expected, especially since he's been a consistent 280s, 290s hitter. Hopefully he can get that up. His home run totals is about on pace. His RBIs a little less, but he's on contract for a long time, so we expect him to obviously man down that third base spot. Next up, Yordan Alvarez, a rookie of the year last year, hitting 263, so his average is slowing down a little bit. Yeah, he's got 29 homers, 75 RBIs. He's been our go-to bat, our clutch hitter. Only 22 years old. He's only going to get better, which is absolutely incredible to say. So he's already got his career 29 homers is his career high, especially after winning Rookie of the Year last year. Next up, Alex Correa hitting 264, 13 homers, 40 bombs. Been a solid shortstop. His average has dropped. A lot of these players are dropping, especially C. Correa is cold, but just a solid shortstop to have. Defensive man as well. And then we have Jose Altuve, who's only hitting 265 this year, 11 homers, 34 RBIs. He's been clutch in a couple situations. Obviously, we expect more out of Altuve. Essentially, he's always been a around 300 hitter, the former MVP. I'd like to see him get back to those MVP numbers, especially in the second half of the season as we make it look for a playoff push. Next up, Michael Brantley. He's hitting 259, 6 homers, 27 RBIs. He's mostly been our leadoff hitter, and I think he's done a pretty solid job at the leadoff spot. His OBP is 327, a little low, but I would like to see that go up. But he is 32 years old. He is getting older, but he's not regressing in every category, which is pretty solid as his contact is still going up. I think he is also a free agent, so someone to watch out for, like we've hinted at all year. Next up, Yuli Gurriel, who's hitting 242, 10 homers, 36 RBIs. He's had a solid month of July. The average has climbed up at least 20 spots. And he's had a couple clutch homers. You saw him in the last episode hitting that bomb against the Athletics to send us the victory in that 4-2 game. But Yuli is older, 35 years old. Never know when he is going to retire. And he is regressing kind of fast. He is a 73 overall, but his morale is helping him out a little bit. So who knows what will happen with the first base spot, especially with Yuli getting so old and regressing so fast. Next up, Kyle Tucker. We started getting more of the bench players. Kyle Tucker hitting 244, 2 homers, 21 RBIs. Our primary outfield backup is a 72 overall A potential, and you can see his attributes are increasing across the board pretty steadily. Hopefully we can get that bat up a little bit more, but he could be the left fielder of the future. Whether that's next year or not remains to be seen, but he's pulled it up a little bit this year. He is angry with his spot. He thinks he should be paid more and he should at least be getting some starting playing time, but we have plans for Kyle Tucker. I don't want to sour him too much. Next up, Martin Maldonado, who I call the first half surprise player of the season, has completely tanked. His average has gone down at least 100 points, only hitting 228 now, 7 homers, 22 RBIs. Was the full-time catcher, now the platoon catcher, and his attributes are decreasing because of it. He's kind of gone back to where he's been at this point, hitting a solid 228, 7 homer, 22 RBI kind of guy. So he's gone back to what we know from Martin Maldonado, which is unfortunate. He is under contract next year, so I guess he might be our catcher next year. Here's another guy to talk about, Garrett Stubbs, hitting 235, 1 homer, 18 RBIs. He's more of a defensive catcher, as you can see by his defensive statistics. Not quite the best catcher. I guess he does his job well. Would like to see maybe upgrade the catcher spot at some point, especially since he is 26. He is a B potential, but I don't think he's ever really going to reach that B potential just because he is a little older and his bat is so low. But I think he's a solid backup catcher. I don't know if he's a solid platoon guy like he's being used right now. Then we have Aledmys Diaz hitting 179. I mean, not much to say about him. He does have 4 homers, and he is increasing in his stat line, especially at age 29. But, having a way down year, just kind of our utility infielder at this point. Then we have Abraham Toro, who's been our quarter infield backup. He's hitting 196 on the season through 56 at-bats. Just haven't really been able to find that corner infield depth guy, and I thought with his bat he'd be doing a little better, but unfortunately he has not, so that's unfortunate. And then obviously there's new right fielder Yasiel Puig, who if you didn't see in the last episode, we did trade Josh Reddick to the Cardinals and signed Yasiel Puig in free agency to be our new right fielder of the future. The future of this year, I shouldn't say future. He is under contract for another year, but that is a club option, so we have the opportunity to bring him back if we want to. But I think he's just mostly going to be a stopgap right fielder for the rest of the season. But excited to see what Yasiel Puig can do in his debut next episode against the Twins, so be on the lookout for that one when I get back. So that's it for the position players. Let's go up to our pitchers now. We'll sort this by ERA. And our best ERA pitcher is Joe Smith because he's only pitched 11 innings so far. Solid setup man. Should be getting a little bit more work, but is not. But he's still a solid setup man. And we have Roberto Osuna, who's got a 2.03 ERA. The all-star closer, has been dominant. He had that little stretch in May where he kind of stumbled a couple times, but with 27 saves already, I mean, he's just kind of a dominant closer. He's got a little bit of a checkered history, but he's got the job done for us. So that's that. Then we have Justin Verlander, our ace, 2.36 ERA. He's on a hot streak, 166 strikeouts. He's kind of had a couple rough outings recently, so and you see he is regressing, and he is regressing kind of fast. That home run per 9 out of 47 is worrisome. He is sitting at 87. He is under contract for next year as well, and he's also actually really an 85, but morale is helping him out. So Verlander's somebody who is regressing really fast, and that'll be interesting to watch in the second half. Another man who's interesting to watch is Jose Urquidy, 2.37 ERA. At one point, he was the best ERA in the American League. This man has been lights out for us in our rotation. I've been so happy with his progress. Still increasing, a 75 overall A potential at 24 years old, having an incredible season. someone who can anchor our rotation down for years to come. Next up, Rogelio Armenteros, who has kind of shifted into that fifth man position in the rotation after the release of Homer Bailey. He's done a solid job. 2.85 ERAs, 52 strikeouts through 75 and 2/3 inning. Whip is a 1.23, but that's better than Jose Urquidy's ERA, so he is getting the job done. He is, improving. A 76 overall, so actually a higher overall than Urquidy, but B potential 24-year-old. Another man who can anchor down our second half of our rotation for years to come. So we got a couple of pitching prospects, which is very promising. Then we have Ryan Presley in the pin, our setup man, 2.96 ERA. He's been a dominant setup man. He's done a very, very solid job. He's been that good 8th inning go-to guy. Got a nasty sweeping curveball. He's gotten his job done. 16 holds so far in the season. Probably not getting as much work as we would like, but we're not, in the lead as much in the 8th inning this season, which is kind of depressing because I like using Ryan Presley in that setup role. Next up, Jose Urena, 3.07 ERA. We acquired him, remember, in the Marlins trade about a month back for a prospect, Gray Kessinger. 3.07 ERA. He's been our long reliever. He's done a solid job. I've been very happy with the progress of Jose Urena. The former opening day pitcher for the Marlins, and we saw him in that episode last week when Urquidy came out in the 4th inning. Jose Urena just kind of dominated the rest of the game and did his job, so I thought he was a good pickup. I like Urena. And we also have him for arbitration next year, so that will help us hold on to him as well. Then we have Zach Greinke at 3.44 ERA. He's kind of been hit or miss this season. Another very old pitcher, 36 years of age, is regressing, probably not as fast as Verlander, but it's something to watch out for as well. He also has a very low home runs per 9. Getting up there in age, also on contract for next year on a big time deal, just something to watch out for. What is going to happen with our number 1 and number 2 pitchers this offseason? They're both due big money, they're both regressing, and they're both older, so that will be probably the biggest storyline to watch coming into the offseason and the late part of this season. Can they push us to a playoff? We'll have to wait and find out. Then the last man in our rotation, Lance McCullers, has a 4.06 ERA. He is our number 3 pitcher. He's got solid stats. He could work on that walk per 9, but he's kind of had a rough patch in the month of July. His ERA is up to a 4.06 now. He's kind of gotten rocked in a couple of his last outings, and we really hope he can fix that because I like him as a number 3 guy. At 26 years of age, I don't think he could be thrust into an opening day starter position if both Verlander and Greinke somehow retire. But I think he's a solid middle of the rotation kind of guy. Probably will max out at a 3 spot, which is where he's at now. So I think he's comfortable where he's at. But if something happens to one of our top 2 pitchers, might be in a little bit of trouble. Then we have Austin Pruitt, 4.30 ERA. We kind of went back and forth on who that last guy in our bullpen would be. We tried Joe Biagini, we tried, Justin Farrell at the beginning of the year, and now we're trying Austin Pruitt. I think he's been the best of the bunch. A 4.30 ERA is a little high through 14 and 2/3 innings pitched, but out of that bunch, he has been the best one. 71 D potential. I don't know what his long-term prospects will be, but he'll probably sit in the bullpen for this year at least. Then we have Brad Peacock, who has been our go-to middle relief pitcher, and that kind of shows where our bullpen was at. He's got a 4.50 ERA, which is very, very high for a go-to guy. Had a rough July. 32 years of age is increasing, but I wouldn't really expect him to be at the levels he's at for too long. As you can see, his ERA has been going up since 2017. So, we've wanted to increase our bullpen, wanted to improve our bullpen. And we made a couple of trades of the Urena trade, and as well as this guy, Alex Reyes, who we just traded for in the last episode. Cardinals offered us the deal, him for Reddick, and we took it. And so Alex Reyes, excited to see what he can do. 72 overall, a potential 25-year-old. He has improved greatly this season, despite his ERA being a 4.83. And we're excited to see what he can do in the bullpen, not just for this year, but for future years. And there's Chris Davinsky, 5.22 ERA. It was gotten up, I think, to a high as a 6 or a 7. So it has gone down, but just another middle relief pitcher who has struggled this season. And that's kind of been the theme. Have him for arbitration, but he is going to be 30 next year. We'll see if he's brought back. So that does it for our stats. So we're going to go over to team rankings now, look at team stats. and then probably look at some league leaders, and that'll wrap up this episode. But starting with batting average, our Astros, I just dropped my notebook. We sit at 24th in batting average, so very much lower than we would like. All right, let me grab that. 24th, only 250 average. A lot of our big guys, you can see Altuve 265, Bregman 264, Alvarez 263. We really expect those to be a lot higher than they are. So we need to improve our hitting in the last 2 months of the season if we want to make a postseason playoff push. Runs, we sit at, where do we sit at runs? 18th, so 462. So our runs are higher than our batting average, and that's because of our home run total. As you will see in a second, we are 11th in the league with home runs, 145. It has gone down. We were at as high as I think 8th or 7th, but we have slowed down a little bit in the home run department. You see Alvarez leads the team. Take a look at ERA now. Our ERA is actually pretty high. Kind of happy with where our ERA is, especially with our bullpen problems. A 7 ERA, which means our starting pitchers are doing a solid job. It just means our bullpen is letting us down. You see those starting 3 ERAs are there: 2.36, 2.37, 3.44. Honestly, it should be a lot lower than 3.78, but we just got to fix that bullpen. Hits allowed, which, our ERA is good, but our hits allowed is a 22nd in the league, 994 hits this year, which means we're allowing a lot of base runners. We're just doing a good job at getting the hitters out and stranding them on base, but that's not going to be a winning formula forever, especially one that's going to be a winning formula in the playoffs. Home runs allowed, we used to be the worst in the league at this. Now we are 17th, so we made good improvements here, slowed down the long ball, and that's kind of why we started to win more in recent weeks and this past month. And then lastly, to take a look at wins percentage, we are the 12th team in baseball with a 51.9% win percentage, which honestly should be a lot higher. So lastly, let's wrap it up with a couple of the league leaders. Take a look at the key stats. Batting average, Mike Trout leads the league, of course, with a 3.49 ERA. Bat average, not ERA. Home runs, Mike Trout 35. RBIs, Mike Trout 98. Could be a Triple Crown winner. Who would have known? Stolen bases, Elvis Andrus leads the American League with 23. And walks, Alex Bregman leads the American League with 64 walks, so getting on base despite his average being a 2.64 ERA. I don't know why I keep saying batting average, ERA. Batting average. OPS, Mike Trout, 1.161 OPS. Mark Canha, the other one who's over 1,000, both in the AOS. So that's been very fun to play. Chris Sale leads the American League with 15 wins, also leads the league with 2 losses. Saves, Oliver Drake, 36 saves despite not being a primary closing pitcher. He's kind of solidified himself as that role in Tampa and is doing a solid job. ERA, Justin Verlander, 2.36 ERA, tied with James Paxton, and then Jose Urquidy with a 2.37. Also allowed the least amount of home runs, which is very interesting, especially with this home run per 9 being so low. Strikeouts, Chris Sale, 202. Looks like he's on his way to a Cy Young season. And pitching WAR, Sale has the best pitching WAR, and Mike Trout, of course, has the best batting WAR by 2.5 points. So now in the National League, Lorenzo Cain leads the way, 331 average. Home runs has to be Josh Bell, 31, Cody Bellinger, 31, and Juan Soto, 31. Josh Bell keeps going in and out of the trade block, so that'll be interesting to watch. RBIs, Cody Bellinger, 79. Let's see, stolen bases, Billy Hamilton, of course, 30 stolen bases with that 99 stealing. He is always going to be very high up there. Juan Soto leads the National League in walks by 7 with 76. Actually leads all of baseball. Don't want to face him. OPS, Cody Bellinger, with the only one over 1,000. Wins is Max Scherzer. A couple of players with 3 losses, Madison Bumgarner, Anthony Desclafani, and Felix Hernandez out in Atlanta now. Seth Lugo leads the way with saves with 35. ERA is Madison Bumgarner, 2.21. And then we'll look at the pitching. Strikeouts, Strasburg, 202. Scherzer, 195. I mean, that is just probably the best 1-2 punch in baseball, and they're showing why. Pitching WAR, Steven Strasburg, and then batting WAR, Cody Bellinger. So that is the stats, and that's actually going to wrap it up for this episode of the Astros franchise. Next episode, we will have the series versus the Twins, and the series versus the Diamondbacks, as well as cover any trades that are made at the deadline. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe down below for more baseball content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. This is Mr. Rob, and I'm saying class is dismissed.